Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
Hello and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Baranowski-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Nina Zapala. So welcome, Nina. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, well, I'm so glad to be here, and I loved our tree conversation. I have to admit it. So if y'all are tree people, you'll love Patricia. She's a tree people like me. But anyway, so about me, I'm going to make this quick. I think, in my life, what happened is, and I'm sure you've had experience, and I've talked to women all over, hundreds and hundreds of women we have the same experience. They're like, we're told, be the badass, but be the nurturer, It's like, we're starting to age, but anti-age, right? And then it's like, be the goddess, but be the man and get the seat at the table. So we're constantly fed these very contrasting loops of society. And then we wonder why we have what I call identity paralysis, right? We're like, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't know, because we're getting different stories every single day. And it's constantly, and especially for women, I think more, it's getting constantly pushed at us. So lo and behold, it just finally hit me. And I just, as life treats you, life treated me to a tsunami. And everything in my life changed, like everything, my job, everything. It's like my job, my home, I had to move, blah, blah. So, but what happened is during that, it woke me up, right? It woke me up and I'm like, okay, this stuff is for them and I can't be looking externally anymore. So I had to figure out how to listen to myself, right? I had to figure out who I was, what I was meant to do, and where I wanted to go with my life. Like, what do I want to become? So it was that breakthrough moment, right? And I think we all have breakthrough moments. It's just like, what path are we going to take? Are we going to take the road of what we know, or are we going to step into the unknown? I stepped into the unknown and fell off the cliff and my whole life changed. So that's kind of a little bit about me and where I was and where I'm going. So that's helpful.
Well, they say sometimes like life will slowly and quietly give you little taps on the shoulder. But sometimes we're just so oblivious because we're caught up in the hustle and bustle of life that it basically shakes you in. Because something, I actually had two really crazy things that happened to me. And it was like the biggest knock on my head, literally, to say, pay attention. I'm trying to get a message through to you. And sometimes we need that to wake up. But now you talked with the tsunami. So can you share the story of your life tsunami and how it propelled you into the journey of self-discovery and develop spiritual personality typing? And basically, what exactly is that?
Yeah, sure. And I'm going to feed off of you because life was giving me nudges and I'm very stubborn. I am.
Are you an Aries by chance?
I'm an Aquarian, so I'm like highly independent. No, I can do everything myself. I'm cool. And I'm a freedom lover. So it's like, no, don't talk to me. You're taking away my freedom because I can't listen. You have all these things, right? And just as you said, it was, my soul was knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. And I was just like, whatevs, I'm going to do it my way. And this was funny. I was in the travel industry where, and I was luxury travel. So, I was traveling the world, sucking down like, $1,000 bottle of wines, and it was fun until it wasn't. So I was on stage in New York City and I was bringing home, it's called a Platinum Award. Like only 3 people in the world win this a year. So yeah, it's pretty prestigious and I'm not bragging, but I did work my ass off it. So I will take a little bow. But I was standing on stage and I started getting sick. Well, this is funny because I already won the award. I knew I was there. I was there just to pick it up and just, meet and greet with people, right? And I'm on stage and I start getting sick. And to my stomach, I was like, what is going on? And the little whisper got really loud and said, Nina, is this what you want? And I immediately said no. Immediately. So I didn't even think. And that just happened, and it, you kind of progress with your night. Well, 3 months later, that's when it was asked, it was answered, it started. So the tsunami came, and really everything in my life changed. Everything, because you have to relearn yourself. If you're going to go in a different direction, you can't keep on going and using the same tools that you're using to recreate it to a rebirth. You can't do that. So everything in my life changed. I got a divorce. I had to move. I was taking care of my son. It was just a nightmare. And but I had to go through the challenge. So I said, I'm not going to stay where I am.
Right.
I'm going to go in a different direction. And that different direction was thank God I had access to an old mentor, Dr. Nix. She was a spiritual psychologist before it was cool to be a spiritual
Right.
psychologist. And she helped me. She's like, Nina, this is about radical self-acceptance. This is about radical self-awareness. If you want to know who you are and go in a different direction, you need all these tools. And I'm like, okay, well, I like Myers-Briggs, but there's no soul to it. She turned around, she goes, you just said that. That is your direction. Go.
Well,
And so I had this another breakthrough, this turning point where I just said, okay, I need to do this.
mm,
And what I've been doing after the aftermath of my tsunami is I've been studying this for like 10 years now, and just mastering the art of spiritual personality typing. And really what it is, it's Myers-Briggs on a spiritual detour. So people that know Myers-Briggs understand it's about career assessments, behaviors, and preferences. And it's just a way to identify your personality type. Spiritual personality typing is more about evolution, expansion, right? Getting in touch with that inner wisdom, that inner guide within you. And I call it the divine spark within. Some
mm,
people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it the God Goddess, whatever it is.
right.
But people that are on this kind of path and on your show understand that there is something more instead of the ego and external
Mhm.
searching and consumption and just that material mindset that we're here to do. This is what we're here to do.
Right.
It's so much more than that. So that's where I kind of walked off that path,
Right.
walked onto, and I was always spiritual, but this is a very dedicated spiritual path
Right.
because I want to help other women wake up.
Right.
Because when I was traveling, I spoke to hundreds and hundreds of women, and they didn't know. They just didn't know. They thought they
Right.
had it all. They didn't. I was like,
Yeah.
they're in a room, they have got a chef, they have a massage, everything's at their beck and call. It wasn't about the pleasures.
Right.
They were lacking meaning. And
Yeah.
it happens,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
it's bad because that's just how it's always portrayed to us between media and news and all that stuff is that, you
Exactly.
don't become somebody until you're making six figures, until,
Yeah,
you have the best car and all that. And it's like I love when people say you can't take it with you when you go. What is that? That's cool to have, but that doesn't define who you are at all.
exactly.
Like people always say like you wear different hats. So you have to have your mom hat, your business hat, your wife hat, your this, that. You're still the same person though. And it is a little tricky thing because you need money to survive. I get that. But you also I don't believe that's what we're here for. I don't believe we're here
No,
just to
I totally agree.
make money and that's it. That's your legacy to just say, okay, I worked, 20 80-hour weeks and was never home but that was that. I did good. You
Yeah,
didn't do anything. Yeah.
yeah. I totally agree with you that was a big, because big conversation. I was talking to CEOs, and I mean, these women were running big companies. They had their own business. They were
Right.
extremely well off. And then when we got into the conversation, they're like, "Well, he's doing this, this, this." I'm like, "That's not about that, is it?
Mhm.
Is it really?" And I was on my journey, so I was very awoken and trying to figure out myself. So I was asking a lot of questions. I'm like, oh, they know they have it all
Right.
because I'm air quoting, right? But it's true. It's like, oh, you have it all because you have the car, you have the corner office, you have the clothes. No,
Right.
and none of them. And it's funny because it was just mirroring to me. That's not what's important. That's not what's important.
Right.
That's why I asked that question to June Lee next. I said, where's the soul in this? Where is the soul? There's no
Mm,
soul in this. The soul is where your meaning and your meaning, your passion, your purpose is. That's where it's
right.
located. It's not located on the external world out there, or driving
Yeah.
a Mercedes. It's not, you can drive, I don't care. And it's not saying we're not supposed to have good things in our life and beauty in our lives, but that's not the focal point.
Right. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I learned. So
Yeah.
my
Now,
lesson.
now you did a book, Unpack Your Personality. So
Yes,
what is it? Unpack Your Personality, let your inner guide be your travel guide. You explore
exactly.
travel as a tool for self-discovery. So how does
Yes.
this approach work and what inspired it?
Yeah, well, work inspired it actually. And you know what I found too, that all of us, we get so conditioned by society, work, dirt, that we just stay in this rut. We get
Mm,
paralyzed. We don't want to move out of that because, oh my God, we'll miss a day of work. Well, we can't have, and it's that root of that security, that root of materialism that's so rooted in us. Like if we don't have that, we're nothing. That's not
Right.
true.
Yeah.
But when you travel, it's funny. All that goes out the window, doesn't it? Because you're like, I'm getting on a plane. I don't know if I'm going to get there or not, but I'm going to get on a plane.
Right.
You're already taking a risk, right? Good or bad. And planes are safe. I'm just saying. But
Yeah.
for most people, that's a big thing. Get on a plane or
Right.
you're driving somewhere, you don't know anybody, you land and boom, you're off.
Right.
Well, that's stepping into the unknown. And that's why I'd love to use travel if you want to start a journey and you don't have to go to some far-flung destination.
Mm.
It can be an hour out of your backyard, you
Something
know?
different. Yeah.
Something different. It's something different. You're not locked into the things
Right.
that because your ego and your mind loves the sameness of everything
Right.
because it finds security in that
Right.
and it wants us to be secure. So that's not, an ego isn't a bad thing, but when it secures you into a place where you lost your identity because you're so afraid to step out of the box, and we're
Right.
not here for that. We need to step out of the box. We're
Yeah.
here to co-create, be creative,
Yeah.
and travel. I believe travel is one of the best times to start that journey
Right.
because you're not afraid. You're like, I'm gonna try this food. Okay, but you're at home. You look in the grocery store. You're like, I'm gonna try that. Nope. You pick up the same lettuce, the same.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff.
It's funny because I've spoken to a lot of people, and it does seem that a lot of people, when they want to just break free from everything, they basically travel, not just to the next state, to like another country. And some
Yes.
people just relocate and start there. And, they just found like peace because like you say, it's so much habit of where you're at and the same stress and same drama. Sometimes just relocating someplace else and starting fresh is what people need.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
But maybe
just
that's why I move a lot.
it could be. You're spreading your seeds. There you go.
Yeah. I'm tired. I want to go try this. Oh, that's fun. But that's part of the personality type too. So
Yeah,
different personality types are different. And I think that's one of the things why I like Myers-Briggs too, is because it's very expansive.
right.
Because as we reach certain stages in our lives, your personality kicks in with different traits. So it's really
Mm,
cool how it's expansive
right,
to us and it works with us. And then when you
right.
put spiritual nuances into it, it's like, whoa, it's like a totally different, you're stepping into something that you need to step into that I wish everybody on the planet would just even take the time to know themselves.
Yeah,
Like we were talking earlier, just step outside. We have 5 minutes. Step outside, breathe in, calm
mm,
your mind, and hear what the whispers are coming in. Just
right.
listen. You have
Yeah.
5 minutes to do that every day.
I always say like I don't always get to go travel places, but I belong to a lot of photography groups on Facebook, so I get to see beautiful pictures of the animals, of nature, of the sunrise,
Yeah.
sunset from around the world. So even though I'm not physically there, I can still just relax and enjoy the beauty and just what I can see for 5 minutes.
Yes.
And people like it's funny because I do that right before I get out of bed in the morning. And it's like that could set the stage of my mood for the entire day. Just when I'm like, wow, that is so pretty. And now I could wake up and be like, oh my God, I'm late. Or I could watch this and just be like centered for a minute, be like, wow, because as
Yes.
screwed up as this world can be, there's a lot of beauty in it. You just have to be able
Yes.
to find it,
Yeah,
and it's there.
I love that you're taking your mind because you're kind of taking your mind from the logical for a minute
Right?
and you're putting it into a very open-minded space because you don't really know what you're going to see on Facebook because you're going to come in like, what am I
Yeah,
going to see today? I'm
yeah,
just going to be open to it and let it take me to where it needs to take me.
yeah,
That's a part of spiritual personality typing. I love
yeah.
that.
Well, it's cool is that with all the algorithms now, it's like once you start looking at one thing, you start getting fed so much more. So I get bombarded with this and I love it because it's like, I can sit here and watch half the crap that's on there, or I can watch this. I choose to watch this because there's
Yeah.
enough crap going on around me that I don't need more.
Yeah, what you're doing makes you feel good, and that's half the battle.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
half the battle. Do what makes you feel good,
yeah, 100%.
you know?
So now tell us, why do you believe personality typing without a spiritual foundation is incomplete? How can integrating spirituality enhance one's understanding of self?
Ooh, a good question.
Mhm.
Um, that's a juicy one. Because I think because I practice it, and I'm not going to say that one's better than the other. One's just way more dynamic. One's way more profound. So if you're a seeker and you want to know yourself from a very different, profound space, your
Right.
evolved space. You want to live from your higher conscious self, right? You're going to want to go into spiritual personality typing. Myers-Briggs from the 1940s, which I like love that they created this because it was a mother-daughter team that created this on the heels of World War II.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were brave. They were brave because at that time, speaking of patriarchal, it's just like women, what do you know, But they and they worked with Carl Jung. So they had a good mentor. Like speaking of
Right.
good mentors, right? And so they worked with them, and their whole vision for Myers-Briggs on the onset was just to help everybody teach everybody that we're all different and to embrace that difference. Because after the World War II, they wanted to bring that peace, that perspective of understanding your personality type and understanding their perspectives that go with it, the perceptions that are built into it. So I have to command them. But today I feel it's too limited. We're not in the 1940s anymore. The world is changing and different. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create something that's more contemporary, more mystical, and actually it's more feminine. It's just a more feminine way because you know when you have the feminine, and not that you can't use this if you're a man, that's ridiculous to say that, and I would never say that, but it offers a more feminine approach because open-minded, it's very nourishing, and it's about relationship building between the traits, not just to identify in a literal, in a linear line. It's a circular approach to this. So you see how everything connects. Because we connect, we're all one with everything. So why aren't we all one with ourselves and connecting with ourselves? So that's probably the biggest difference in why I created one and stepped from one and gonna like refined it into spiritual personality typing.
Right. Well, it gets a little tricky when you say, why are we not all, we're the way we were brought up. You're brought up one way, you go to school, get a
Yeah.
job, you have a list of what you're expected to do.
Yes.
And no one ever says, take a deep breath. How do you feel? Like I had another conversation with someone earlier, and we were never asked, how do you feel? Back in our day, it was kids are seen and not heard, do as you're told, blah, blah, blah. You don't have an opinion. No one cares how you feel. You have a job to do, you do it. So no one ever took time to really think, how do I feel? What do I think? It just wasn't how we were raised. And I think now with this generation, they're starting to evolve a little bit because they're a little more outspoken.
Yes,
But it's,
absolutely.
I think it's something that I think if people do take a step back and say, okay, you know what do I think? Because we all feel something. I mean, like I said, I can just go for a walk in nature. Like some people need crazy therapy. I could just take a walk in nature and I am the most at peace in my life.
Yes.
That just makes me feel great. I don't need much in life. Doesn't cost anything, but you
Yeah.
can you can
Yeah.
find what, how you feel, how you think. Like you said, just take 5 minutes, walk outside and you could, but I
Yeah.
think people will eventually start getting to that, but they need a push sometimes.
Well, and I agree with you. And I think because we're so shut down. Look at school. Don't talk. Stand in line. Shut up. Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Stand in line. What are you doing? No, you can't go get a drink of water. No, you can't go. It's no, 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 no. You're conditioned not to think and
Right.
not to be yourself. You're conditioned to stand in the line, raise your hand. And if you follow my exact instructions and do good, you'll get gold stars. If
Right.
not, you're a loser. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You get no gold stars. And it wasn't even hidden. It was like
Yeah.
in your face. Did you get a gold star? No. Oh,
Yeah.
why didn't Nina get a gold? I mean, so we're shut down at a
Right.
very early age and we're not taught to think about like
Right.
what does make me happy. We're not
Yeah.
taught that.
Yeah.
We're not
Because you have
taught.
your list of stuff to do, and that's it. That's all that matters.
Exactly. And it's like a shaping you into school and then
Yeah.
college, and it's so funny because it's the institutions. And if
Yeah.
when I was brought up, the institution was not a good place to be. Like, and as far as like there was a lot of institutions for, um mental institutions.
Right.
There's, when people get jailed institutions,
Yeah.
that's kind of that framework, but it
Yeah.
exists. It's like, it's very interesting. And we don't think about that, nor are we encouraged to think out of the box. We are
Right.
not encouraged to do that.
Yeah. Because this is what you're supposed to focus on. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. And don't question. Forget
Yeah.
questioning. Yeah. Speaking of
Right.
Catholic, I'll tell you this really funny story. You'll laugh because I grew up Catholic, and we were in First Holy Communion, And so the priest was talking about everything. He's like, God is love, blah, blah, blah. But there's always that one bad banana, you know? He goes, and we got to throw the one bad banana out. And I'm like, I raised my hand. I'm like, well, you just said God was always love. So how could there be one bad banana?
Right.
He got so mad at me. Like he told me to go sit in the back pew. He's like, I'm calling your mother. I'm like, well, everybody, everyone's different. Just because you think they're a bad banana doesn't are they really bad? So I was like really questioning him.
Yeah.
And so he did call my mother. And this is what mother's response. She goes, oh, Father O'Brien, he's just an angry man. That's all she said.
Well, it's funny because I'm not a religious person in any way, shape, or form. I have my own beliefs, but
Right.
it's funny, like now, I don't, they always say, don't talk politics, religion, blah, 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 because
Right.
it just gets ugly. But I do enjoy reading some of the people who, like, there's one guy that I follow sometimes, and he, like, his version is, a God is a loving thing. He would like hell. That's non-existent. Why would he burn people like that? Just he would never
Yeah.
do, but then when you get the oh my God, that's not what the Bible says. And like I would just
Yeah.
happen to be watching last night the God, what was it? With Tom Hanks, Fibonacci code. Was that
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, there's a lot more to it than what we know. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's
It's
a whole
all,
other.
well, and it's all interpretation. Just like
Yeah,
you have your opinions, I have my opinions, and that's
yeah,
what Myers-Briggs was trying to teach us, that
yeah.
there is diversity in all of
Doesn't
us.
mean, yeah, it
Let's
doesn't
be
mean you're right.
accepting.
Wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. Just accept it. And I'm not a big believer of the Catholic Church. I
Mm,
am a big believer in spirituality, and that there, I know that there is a divine being.
yeah.
But that's what I believe.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I'm the same. I believe we're part of this whole big, universe, and there's
fiesta.
something up there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just can't
Yep.
say man, woman, because that
Yeah.
was the whole thing where, like I remember 9/11 and all that, and you try to tell people everybody has their own firm beliefs in something.
Yeah.
They believe their religion. We think you're crazy. They think we're crazy. What makes one right, one wrong? It's your
Right.
own belief. But
Right.
anyway, we won't get into that because that just
Yeah.
causes a great.
But that's a good, but that's good to bring up because people, and it goes back to what we're talking about, because people get so set in their beliefs, and that's why they find themselves in an identity paralysis because they're so set. But whose belief is it? Was it really your belief?
What you were taught.
Or was it what you were taught?
Right,
Is that what your parents taught? Is that what school taught? Is that what college taught? Is that an ex relationship? Is that what they taught? So
right,
you really have to get in there and start defining that. So
yeah,
when you get into personality types, you start defining values and stuff, and you can start seeing, you're like, oh, well, I don't think like that. I'm
mm,
more like this. But I'm like, okay, naturally, what are you? Well, I'm not like that. Okay, so there's something we need to peel away and
mm,
look at because it's telling us that's you're assuming somebody else's values and beliefs and you're
right,
making them your own, and then you're never happy,
right. No, I agree.
you know? So it's just one of those things.
Yeah. That's us. What are some common challenges people face when trying to discover their purpose? And how does knowing their true self through personality typing help?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about that. The purpose, when to find your purpose, you have to know yourself.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of people say, what's your why? Well, I'm like, well, how do you know your why if you don't know who you are? Like,
right,
it's like, is it the chicken or the egg? Well,
right,
you have to know yourself on every level, right? And so some of the challenges are just what we spoke of. These beliefs are so deeply ingrained in you
right,
that they're passive. So you don't even realize that you're believing them because they've just been a part of your life for so
right,
long. They're passive. So you got to start pulling those out, right? You got to really pull them out and
right,
really examine them and then sit with them. Does that belief feel good to you? If it does, fine. If it
right,
doesn't, what does feel good?
right.
And that's part of the purpose path. It's a lot of questioning. And it's just, people say, well, I want to do this in, a week. I'm like, have fun with that. I'm not your gal.
Yeah. It's a
What doesn't work?
process. Yeah.
It's a process. It's a
Especially when you
process.
have decades of being ingrained in something. Now you want to, and people are afraid to question things, or a lot of people are just afraid to change. But,
Yes.
I know somebody who's dealing with a lot of drama right now and they just don't like change. And it's like, so what's the price tag you put on your happiness? I mean, you don't
Yeah.
want to change. Okay, then
Right.
sucks
Stay
to
where
be
you
you. I
are.
don't know what
Yeah.
else to
Yeah.
say. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Well, just gonna stay where you are until
yeah.
it gets so much that you're either gonna leave the planet or you're gonna change. Because some people get like that and they get so stuck that they actually get sick because I call this warring within,
Mm,
because their soul's trying to help them. And their ego's fighting that because the ego
Mhm.
wants to protect you. So if the ego knows sickness and drama, that's what it's going to bring.
Right.
And your soul is going to bring you light and love and joy and creativity and all the good things. And it starts warring. And
Mhm.
that causes sickness a lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, they
So,
do say so many people, like, you know, you hear a lot about that where they had an ulcer or they had this or they had that. And once they removed the toxicity from their life,
yeah.
they were suddenly better, you know.
Yeah,
So,
miracle is a miracle, right?
yeah, you know, but it's like when you hear that once, you say, oh, that was a freak thing. When you hear it a lot, it's like, okay, that can't be a freak thing now. You know, it
Right.
is your body's way of saying you need to do something.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I don't know if I answered your question properly,
No,
but
yeah, totally.
okay, I think I did.
So tell us, how can understanding one's spiritual personality typing influence decisions in areas like business, relationship, or even parenting?
Oh, this is so good. And I love that you're asking this because it does touch everything in your life, right? It's
Yeah.
your relationship with yourself, it's relationship with your business, relationship with your kids, relationship, all of it.
Right.
How this touches is because you come from a more higher conscious self, so you're not letting your ego respond. Most of the people that I work with now, we call it take a pause.
Mhm.
Just take a pause, right? Because taking a pause lets you sit back and hear, okay, what is your soul trying to tell you instead of your ego? Because your ego will march right down the road and just like, I'm going. Like, and it's sometimes it's like, oh, you're being a baby. You don't want to do that, or you shouldn't let them talk to you like that. Okay, that's your opinion. But if you pause, right, you start hearing the whispers saying, okay, what are they trying to tell you? Is this your
Mhm.
lesson or is this their lesson? Let's take a look at that. And I
Mhm.
know it's hard to pause in conversation, but it's because most people don't do it,
Mhm.
but you can do it. And it's part of like putting your sand in the flag and saying, this is who I am,
Mhm.
or let me get back to you.
Right.
Or I don't like the tone of this conversation right now, or the tone of this conversation seems like it's very negative. I need to step back and really rethink this. Can I get back to you?
Mhm.
Those kind of things. And so once you start identifying your personality type, it shows you how you make decisions. Are you more logical? Are you more
Mhm.
feeling? It's going to show you that. And is
Right.
it more introspective or is it more extrovert? Is it more welcoming from the world? So it gets into a dynamic
Mhm.
of knowing that. You don't have to know all of it. First of all, just learn you, right?
Right.
So you can make those decisions. And what I say, so you can take divinely inspired actions instead of an ego responsive action that elicits a lot of times the same behavior.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different way of looking at things. And even your information gathering is different
Mhm.
because you're like, I was just talking to a friend of mine and she's watching this show and she goes, man, this show is like it's just there's a lot of violence. And she goes, I don't know. And then we were talking, she goes, I can't sleep at night. I'm like, well, you're t watching this show. And people don't realize how the information that we take in, do you want to take information that feels good and feeds your soul, or do you want to take in information that's fear and warmongering? It
Mhm.
just it just it's not it's nasty. It makes you feel negative.
Yeah.
So it really touches on all aspects of your life. And when you start really tuning into it, you're like, whoa, I didn't realize this was so. You don't realize how pervasive
Mhm. I
it can be.
remember, I remember reading something where a lot of people who watch like really violent and crazy like movies before going to bed, they don't realize they don't sleep at night. And
Yeah,
it's, you know, people don't realize like how much is in your head and your subconscious.
yeah,
You know, like I at one point was suffering crazy insomnia, and it's not something you're consciously even thinking about. I was go to the doctors, they're just pop pills, pop pills. I eventually wound up going to a hypnotist, and
mm,
believe it or not, in 3 sessions, she had me cured. It was
wha-
basically guilt that I had in my head from me because I was a single mom of 2 young kids and I felt like I could have been doing better and I had all this that was my own guilt in my head that was keeping me up. Once
yeah,
she cured that, I was like, okay, this is totally fine. Not something I even consciously knew was going on in my head.
right,
So yeah, putting yourself in front of not nice things, it's going to be in your
yeah.
head and it's going to not be
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah. And see, this is what's so insidious about being passive. And you don't realize that you're being passive because
Right,
it's innate to you at this point, right?
right,
You're like all worried. So you have this passive behavior that you didn't weren't aware of, but it was passively affecting you. And that's what we do, and that's why the world, when, we put all these things on women, show up, be this, be a badass, like, be, be a nurturer, be a
Mhm.
mom, but be a badass,
Yeah.
but all those things, that information, like, it seeps in. You're like, oh, I should be doing this because the world's telling me to do that. No, what are you feeling? Go back.
Right.
Makes you feel good and go from there,
Right.
But
Yeah.
and I totally get that. I totally get that. Totally agree with you.
Yeah. So tell us, you emphasize the importance of defining one's creative journey. So what steps can individuals take to uncover and embrace their unique creative paths?
Yeah, and I love this. Another great question, because some personality types are like, well, they're not creative. Everybody's creative.
Right.
Well,
In your own way.
yeah, and we come from the most creative, you know, being in the planet, the universe, the galaxy. It's just all creation.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? You just got to start listening to yourself. You know what
Right.
I mean? And a lot of times, if you go back into childhood and just kind of look, like, what did you do then that was creative? And
Right.
and as kids, we all did some. It could be like my son was like into Legos and building. All he's like, he could do Legos, like, but all of us were doing something creative. So it's good when you can go back and be more playful. And how you get
Right.
on that path is be more playful. Give yourself a play date.
Right.
Like you said, go outside and swing on a swing. You
Yeah.
know, Go, or, if that doesn't suit you, go to an art gallery,
Right.
play, do something playful.
Right.
I don't care. Take Play-Doh. I don't care what it is. Create something cool in the kitchen, but
Yeah.
you have to play. Play is the doorway to creativity.
Right.
So,
It's actually unique nowadays. They have a lot of things. I've seen them where one of them, like, it's supposed to be a stress relief, but you go in and you just basically just start throwing things at a wall, paint and everything. And then whatever you make, you can take if you want, like you dressed in this whole like plastic robe. But I'm
I
like,
love
how
it.
could is that? And then there's the
Yeah.
pottery you can make. It's more or less just, people use it as like a get together with them and their friends, but you can take home whatever you make. I've seen plates, I've seen pottery, I've
Oh,
seen the axe throw,
beautiful.
all this crazy stuff. But it's like, whatever it is, when people leave there, like, wow, that was awesome. They just
Yeah.
like took a load off.
Yeah, it's playing. And
Yeah.
see, I believe God is playful and funny.
Mhm.
I do. I mean, because look at some of the stuff he does. I'm like, oh, that was,
Yeah.
you know? So, but I do believe that. And I think once the environment that you just described is like, you're just open-minded. You're playing. That's all you're thinking of. Like, how do I want to do this? And all that other stuff in your head leaves you.
Yeah.
And you're just left with these playful, fun things. Oh, I'm
Right.
going to use pink, or I'm going to use blue, and that's all you're focused on. And it's
Right.
just a simple act of playing
Yeah.
that brings in the creativity. And that, I think, it really does calm you and bring you peace,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
you know?
So tell us, how do you help individuals recognize whether they're defining their own reality or if it's being defined by them by external forces?
Well, that's a tough one. And sometimes, and no, and I do it, and I do it through personality typing. The first place I start is I try to get people to I take a test. Like, I just had a client, and she took a test, and we're going through it, and she's like, "Ooh, that's nothing like me." I'm like, "No, the words coming out of your mouth and the test results that you took are totally opposite things." So first, what I really try to do is help people identify their personality type.
Mm.
Then once I get in the personality type, that's where we go in and start saying, well, look at this relationship. Does this sound right? Oh, yeah, I see when I do that. Like, people start, light bulbs start go, because they're recognizing, they're asking the questions, they're seeing themselves. It's almost like it's they're on an
Right.
observation deck, right? And they're actually seeing how their traits show up in the world and the relationship between the traits. So that's how you kind of get into people. Some people, as you said, are so Ah, I think the word is just, there's a stuckness about them.
Right.
It's just like they're just not ready yet. So some people
Yeah.
want to say, you know what, we're not ready yet. Um, so come back, when you feel like you're a little bit more ready. Well, I am ready, but you're not, because
Mhm.
they, like you said, they want to stay in their drama, or they want to blame and shame. I know, I was there. I'm not judging. I did it when I first started going through my tsunami. I was like, that's their fault, and they did this, well, 2 years later, nothing was changing. So I'm like, what are you doing here? Right? It's a journey. So some people have to be willing and be on the journey, and other people and they might never. They might have to come back and do this all over again. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah.
You know? So that's a good question. It's not an easy one to answer, but hopefully I answered it the best
No,
I
I
could.
get it. So tell us, during your transformation, journaling played a pivotal role. So how can other users use journaling as a tool for self-discovery and personal growth?
Yeah, I use journaling a lot because I was trying to I was trying to observe myself, so I would journal like,
Right,
okay, this happened today. How does it relate back to what you're going through? Or you were in a situation and you didn't react correctly.
right.
What is that trying to tell you? So I would kind of journal like what I was doing. It was like like an action
Mhm.
journal more
Right.
than just I believe there's no. I wanted to take action because
Mhm.
that's where the place I was. And one of the best journal prompts anybody can use, and this is still my favorite go-to journal prompt. It's just like, divine, please show me. And that's it. I just
Mhm.
write that on a page, or if you're a meditator, meditate that, meditate, bring that in, meditate. If you're out in nature walking, divine, please show me, and you will get shown. Now, it might not be in that exact moment, but you'll get shown.
Right.
But and it that never, ever, ever fails me. And it's always comes from the within. So you know
Mhm.
it's going to be the right move,
Right.
right? You can
It's just
trust.
a matter of getting people to recognize it. Because I know, like
Mm,
even at one point, I had went through a bad situation at one point. In hindsight now, I see all the warning signs that were patting me on the head saying, wake up, I'm trying to stop you from doing this. But at the time, it was just kind of like you're just going through the motion. You're not even paying attention.
right? Me
You got
too.
to learn to slow down, take a deep breath, and listen because you're
Yeah.
right. There is some divine being or something trying to
Yeah.
stop you and guide you.
Yeah.
You just got to pay attention to it
Well,
because
it's
if
trying
not,
to I think it's definitely always trying to talk to you. And I think our society, we're so in this hustle
Mhm.
culture, right? Hurry up, get busy. Oh my God, you don't want to miss out. You got to make the money. You got to do this. You got to do, and there's always a panic. Now there's a 24-hour news feed that's just really always, oh, it's not just in your own backyard anymore. It's in everyone's backyard. So your brain never has a moment to shut
Mhm.
down. So you got to shut everything down. If you want to get to where you want to go,
Right.
it's you're not can't look out there
Yeah.
anymore. You need to shut it down, go in, be stillness. I don't care if it's walking in nature or
Mhm.
like you said, taking a painting, any of those things,
Right.
painting class or ceramic class, meditating,
Yeah.
yoga, even like drumming
Mhm.
or sound frequencies. I love sound frequencies.
Yeah.
They're very calming. But anything like that, and it's everywhere.
Right.
My favorite is nature. I'm a nature freak.
Yeah. No, I
I
am
love
too.
the trees. Yeah. So that to me is just like it gets me, it centers
Right.
me. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, time for my walk, and I have a rescue poodle sitting over
Right.
here, and we're like, come on, Oliver, go for a walk, and out the door. But it
Right.
centers me. I come back in, and I usually have a renewed sense of where I want to go from where
Right.
I was.
And people can't, make excuses. I did another interview with someone who was doing these like relaxation breathing. And I
Mhm.
think
Love breath
we did
works.
it online. It was 60 seconds. However, he had me breathing. I literally, by the time it was done, I was like, oh my God, like I can go to sleep right now. And like he said, people say, I don't have time. I don't have time. You can't spare 60 seconds. That
Yeah.
just brought me from up here down here in an
Yeah.
instant. It's like you
Yeah.
can do it. When people say I don't have time, you can sit here and go on a Netflix binge, or you can watch 20 YouTube videos. You can find the time. You just got
Yes.
to make it a priority.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, do you want to do it for you, or are you going to let you go?
Yeah.
Right, now, I think that's true. Like
Mm.
you got to start doing for you, and it's not selfish. That
Yeah,
is
no,
not selfish.
you count just as much as everybody else, if
Yeah,
not more so.
exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. That's good.
So tell us, what upcoming projects, books, or initiatives are you most excited about, and how do you envision spiritual personality typing evolving in the future?
You know what? I'm really kind of into this. I call it audacious aging. Because it's another thing it's like, oh, age gracefully. What the hell does that even mean? I hate that. What do you just put me out in the pasture? What is it?
Yeah.
And then there's all this stuff. Oh, anti-aging, look younger, do this. Stop it. I mean, does it never stop? Like the women stuff never stops, no matter how when you're younger.
Money, money
Yeah,
business.
it's so I'm really kind of into that, and I'm looking to write like just an inspirational book on that, and I'm working with women too that are going through the aging process, and I'm like, what do I want to do? I'm like, what do you want to do? You don't have to retire to Florida and play golf all day.
Yeah.
That's just one tiny little option. So I'm really kind of looking into that and spreading my wings into that. And I'm working locally here because I'm doing group women gathering circles because I love the online stuff, but in person, God, the energy is just like palpable. It's so exciting. And people are being seen and they're getting excited. So I'm looking to start some women's groups here, like just get circles and let's just talk.
Right.
And you can do that. Anybody can do that.
Right.
That wants to be, you know, just seen and they want that human touch.
Right.
We need to put down all this digital crap and do. So I'm working on things like that.
Okay.
I'm always working on my blog. I'm always working on YouTube, and I work a lot with like one-on-ones
Right.
and I'm never going to walk away from one-on-ones because they're so personal and they're so
Right.
intimate. You will not get that in a group setting. I know people say that all the time, like, Nina, you should do a group. I'm like,
Right.
that's what circles are for.
Right. Yeah.
But to get one-on-one, some people don't like to talk about
I
their
was
very
just going to say
personal
that.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard. I know I didn't want to talk about it because I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. It was like,
Right.
God, was I that stupid that I felt that? And of course that's not the right statement,
Yeah.
but at the time, do you feel that? Yes, of course you do.
Right. Yeah. Not many people want to air their dirty laundry out in front of other people. So,
No,
yeah.
no. That's kind of what I'm up to. It's fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
I
now
want
how
to do
could,
retreats. One of these days I'll do retreats.
yeah, they're a big thing nowadays. So you might get a good following for that.
Yeah, I like doing retreat.
Yeah.
And again, it's the circle, it's the gathering. I love gathering. Like we would be on a treat. We'd like, let's go find the tree. Okay, what kind of
Exactly. Go
hat?
hug
I don't know. Let's go get the app out. This
it.
app says this is actually, and we have them blooming right now, a tulip magnolia. It's a hybrid magnolia and it's blooming these. So you just get your app out and walk around. We would be doing that. But see, when women gather, we get contagious with each other.
Right.
So
It's
that's why the retreats are so like you just gather and then you make friends and it's just community and it's just powerful.
right.
And
And obviously people, if they're on the retreat, you all share the same passion. So, maybe
yeah,
not for trees per se, but for some sort of spirituality. So you're with
yes,
like-minded people. So you feel a little more
absolutely.
open to talk about things.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Totally. I agree. I totally get that. Yep, that's me.
Now, how could people get a hold of you, find your blog, find all your good stuff, or if
Yep.
they want to sign up with you and all of that?
Yeah, I'm just at ninazapala.com everywhere except for YouTube that was taken. So I have to do Nina Zapala ENTP, but it's
Imposter, what?
I know, how dare you? But everything's just at ninazapala.com everywhere. Just yeah. Everywhere.
Awesome.
The book's on Amazon. I'll show you the little book. Oh, this is a great story. I'll tell you this real quick. This book, okay, the cover of the book, I got this from a woman. She's beautiful. She's Polish. I'm Polish. So I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
me
good, you're
too.
Polish.
Another Pollock.
Okay, I love it. Yeah. And so she was so cool. So I gave her a bunch of information, right? She's like, "You're very detailed." I'm like, "I know. I want it a certain way."
Right.
But she took it, and then this is the cool thing. I kind of described the front like unpacking your personality. You have all this stuff, your stuff sticking out of your suitcase. And on the back, look, she's all zipped up, ready to go. She's unpacked herself. She took that
Nice.
and did that.
She
Wasn't that
got through
awesome?
to her.
She got it. She got it.
Nice.
So yeah. So it's
Awesome.
fun. And that's women with women. That's what we do. We're creative.
Right. Good job.
What happens, right?
Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that
Yeah.
was Nina Zapala. So
Yes.
thanks for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you. This was so enjoyable. What a pleasure.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.